Awake my heart. The blood on the altar. It is the blood that maketh atonement for the soul. Leviticus 17:11. Look again at the 17th chapter of Leviticus. After the emphasizes on only one place of sacrifice, 3 through 9, the remaining verses, 10 through 16, explain the sanctity of blood and the meaning of blood sacrifices. See especially verse 11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement, lit a covering for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh a covering for your souls. Mark well, it is the blood which gives such vital meaning to that altar. And conversely, it is the altar which gives such vital meaning to the blood. The two must go together. The altar without the blood is no meeting place for God and sinful man. The blood apart from the altar has no covering value. It must be the blood and upon the one altar. The Scofield note on this verse aptly says, the meaning of all sacrifice is here explained. Every offering was an execution of the sentence of the law upon a substitute for the offender, and every such offering pointed forward to the substitutional death of Christ, which alone vindicated the righteousness of God in passing over the sins of those who offered the typical sacrifices. Romans 3:24 and 25. And again, the value of the life is the measure of the value of the blood. This gives the blood of Christ its inconceivable value. When it was shed, the sinless God-man gave his life. The shed blood is the basis of all. It is through the shed blood of Calvary, Calvary's Lamb, nothing more, nothing less, nothing else, that we have our reconciliation and salvation. No book of the Bible is more methodically progressive than Leviticus. It divides into two main parts. Part 1, 1 through 17, shows the way to God by sacrifice. Part 2, 18 through 27, shows the walk with God. By separation, Part 1 breaks up thus. Chapters 1 through 7, the offerings, absolution. Chapters 8 through 10, the priesthood, mediation. Chapters 11 through 16, the people, purification. Chapter 17, the altar, reconciliation. It is all immensely significant. In Genesis, we see God's remedy for man's ruin, the promised seed of the woman. In Exodus, we see God's answer to man's cry, the blood of the Lamb. In Leviticus, we see God's provision for man's need of heavenward fellowship, a sacrifice, a priest, an altar. The first part of Leviticus answers 4 big questions. Why cannot I choose my own sacrifice? 1 through 7. Why cannot I offer my own sacrifice? 8 through 10. Why cannot I choose my own place of sacrifice? 17, 1 through 9. Why must the sacrifice be one of bloodshedding? 17, 10 through 16. Conan Doyle, author of the famous Sherlock Holmes stories, turned from the evangelical faith, saying that he could not believe in a God who demanded blood before he would forgive. Yet surely that was unworthily superficial. As any fair reading of the Bible shows, it is not that God demands blood, but that sin necessitates atonement. How then shall atonement be effected? As we ponder the holiness of God, the enormity of sin, the innate perversity of fallen man, must we not confess There was no other good enough to pay the price of sin. He only could unlock the gate of heaven and let us in. I like where I've read sacrifices, praying, many things. Okay, anyways. Let's clear this.